Oh yeah. Put that gluten in that flour. Knead it. Yeah. Oh, hello. I just read it for the recipes. Actually, I am looking for something new to binge eat. Ever since that temporarily unfettered duplicate of myself went away, I really miss that guy. Does this make me a narcissist? Oh, no time for self-reflection. I think I finally discovered what I'm going to eat to make the pain go away. Gluten! Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Gluten. 100% gluten diet. If I get up for a midnight snack, I just want to eat a bowl of powdered gluten. There's got to be a better way. Let's see. In the past, I've used gluten to make seitan. Seitan for soup. I made a vegan seitan roast. It was vegan. That's it. Vegan. Vegan! You don't have to shout. I'm right here. I've heard every word you've said. First of all, I just want to say, you're definitely a narcissist. Shut your beautiful face and listen to me with your perfect ears. Listen, I want to start a 100% gluten diet. But I'm already kind of over it. I'm kind of craving chicken nuggets. Yeah. I think I'm just going to go get some chicken nuggets. Well, there is a way you can have it both ways. We can make a reasonable facsimile of chicken nuggets using seitan. I don't know. We can use beer. Beer? Yeah, let's do it! Seitan 3, the chickening! Oh, okay. Tonight we're making beer battered seitan.
In the interest of full disclosure and shameless plugs, I'm adapting a recipe from my sister's cookbook titled Drunk Vegans, available on Amazon. You'll need gluten. You should be able to find this in health food stores or in the baking aisle of most grocery stores. It's usually shelved with the flour. It's sold in powdered form and commonly added to bread to make it real good. The only other required ingredient is water, but that would make for some pretty bland seitan, so let's add some other stuff, such as Nutritional yeast, which you can find at health food stores and some grocery stores. It comes in a shaker now for your convenience. It adds kind of a rich, almost buttery flavor, as well as several vitamins and minerals. Soy sauce, salty and savory, makes particularly scrumptious seitan. Sorry. I don't usually add ketchup, but a little squirt of it can be good if you want to add a little tangy sweetness. And of course, you can add a variety of spices and seasonings. Particularly appropriate are onion powder, garlic powder, and chili powder. And perhaps a dash of salt and pepper. Let's be honest, you'll probably have more beer batter than you need for this amount of seitan. Other things that you can beer batter include mushrooms, cauliflower, jalapenos, and sliced pickles. You might also try zucchini and yellow summer squash, and with the vegetables we can at least pretend that we're eating healthy. For the batter itself, you can use almost any kind of beer. You should use something that you like, although this can be a good way to dispose of crappy beer that somebody left at your house after a party. That's not what's going on here. I actually like Yuengling, but I don't love it. I'm happy to drink it, but I'm not too sad to sacrifice an entire bottle of it to cooking, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. I almost forgot the most important ingredient of the batter besides the beer itself, flour. You can experiment with different kinds of flour, but I like unbleached all-purpose white flour the best for this. My sister's beer batter recipe also calls for Dijon mustard, which I don't have, but Chablis mustard is close enough. You'll want to use oil with a high smoking point to fry this stuff. I normally use vegetable oil, which is usually made from soy, but I'm running low, so today I'm going to mix it with coconut oil. Not extra virgin coconut oil, just regular coconut oil. And of course, breaded, deep-fried morsels of food are just begging to be dipped in various sauces, such as barbecue sauce, ketchup, mustard, taco sauce, or whatever floats your boat. For cooking and mixing, you will need a medium to large pot for boiling, a pan for frying, not necessarily deep frying, and 2 mixing bowls. Set one of the bowls aside for now. We're going to be mixing the dry ingredients first. This is especially important when working with gluten. We'll start with 1 cup of gluten powder. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, about half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. This is the time to add any other dry ingredients you want to add to the seitan itself, such as additional seasonings, and you want to mix them all thoroughly before you add any liquid. As soon as you add liquid to pure gluten, it becomes a very elastic dough, and it's much more difficult to mix anything into it. If the only liquid you're using is water, you don't need that second bowl, you just need 1 cup of water. But I highly recommend you put a little something else in there. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a dollop of tahini or Vegemite or ketchup. You can also use broth in place of water. Add some depth and richness to the flavor, and mix it thoroughly before you add it to the dry ingredients. Now, 1 cup of gluten powder to 3/4 of a cup of water is a pretty good guideline, but it doesn't take into account the nutritional yeast, the soy sauce, or anything else you might have added. If you've added a little too much liquid, it shouldn't be a problem. Just squeeze the dough and it should wring out like a sponge. If, on the other hand, you've mixed everything thoroughly and the dough is still dry and there's powder everywhere, add additional liquid a tablespoon at a time until all of the ingredients are moistened. You should have a soft but elastic dough. Place the dough on a clean, smooth surface and knead for just a minute or two. This isn't like kneading bread dough. It's less about developing the structure of the gluten than it is about making sure all of the ingredients are uniformly mixed and that the seitan is approximately blob-shaped. Be careful because too much kneading can result in tough seitan, which is one of the most common complaints about seitan. Once the dough is more or less uniform in texture, pat it out or roll it with a rolling pin until it's about 1 inch thick, maybe a little thinner. This will help it to cook evenly and all the way through. Meanwhile, on the stove, bring about 2 quarts of water to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer. Add the dough to the water and simmer for at least 45 minutes, though it could take an hour or longer. You don't have to cover it with the lid, but if you don't, you might want to turn it a few times during cooking to keep the top from drying out. As it cooks, it will expand and float to the top. Tongs are very useful for turning the seitan and for removing it from the pot once you're done. Place the seitan on a heat-safe container or cutting board. Now, ideally, you want to let it cool before working with it, but I generally cut into it right away. There are a few different ways to check and see if the seitan is cooked all the way through. One is to use an instant read thermometer, but a more accurate way is to just cut it open and check the texture of the inside. If the seitan is still gummy inside, you can just bring the water back to a simmer and cook it a little bit longer. If the seitan is cooked all the way through, it should be spongy, not gummy. Spongy. Once it is cooked to the desired texture, let it cool, and we'll make the batter. Now, I used my own seitan recipe instead of the one in my sister's cookbook because that's what I'm comfortable with. Hers is a fine seitan recipe, I just happen to have my own, but I will stick to her recipe for beer batter. So, let's start with 1½ cups of flour, add 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and 1 12-ounce bottle of beer. Pour it all in. With the batter, you can just put all the ingredients into a bowl and then mix them up all at once. Oh, I guess you'll need 3 bowls. Nah, just wash one of the ones from earlier. You're smart, right? Clean as you go. Once you have the batter mixed up, go ahead and finish cutting up the seitan. I just cut it up into bite-sized pieces, but you can also use little cookie or fondant cutters to cut it into fun shapes, like hearts or turkeys. That's kind of like a chicken, right? If you do use cookie or fondant cutters, try to leave enough excess seitan around the edges so that you can use it for irregularly shaped nuggets. Waste not, want not. Cut any vegetables into bite-sized pieces as well after cleaning them and patting them well dry with a paper towel. The best jalapenos for frying are the ones from a jar. They're moist and briny, but that also means that they're very wet, so you have to dry them well with a paper towel before battering and frying them. Moisture is the enemy of oil. Excess moisture also makes it difficult for the batter to stick to the food. The same goes for sliced pickles. You can dry them all sufficiently by placing them on a double layer of paper towels and dabbing them with more paper towels. On medium-high heat, preheat at least 1/8 of an inch of oil. Remember, I'm using a mixture of vegetable and coconut oil. Get your batter ready nearby. Now, you don't have to use your bare hands for this like I do, but you also don't have to be that graceful about it. I just take a handful of seitan chunks and drop them into the batter, then make sure they're well coated before dropping them into the oil. Checking the temperature of the oil with a cooking thermometer is a good idea, but that's a lot easier if you're deep frying. Since I'm shallow frying these, I usually just take a drop of batter and put it in the pan. Once bubbles start to form around it, I know the oil is hot enough. If you can check the temperature of the oil, you're looking for about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Try not to go any hotter than that. Carefully place the well-battered chunks of seitan into the oil. Don't drop them. You don't want hot oil splashing everywhere. Now, one of the side effects of shallow frying battered items is that the batter will spread out a little, and you'll end up with a little pancake-shaped handle on each morsel. I don't mind that. In fact, I actually kind of like it. You end up with a nice little crispy edge. But if you don't like that, go ahead and get the deep fryer out. I'll save that for another episode. Now, even in a pan like this, you can make the oil a little bit deeper than I have it here. The way I have it, I had to turn each item a few times onto a couple different sides to make sure it cooked evenly on every side. That's a little bit of a hassle, but it's not really a huge deal, and tongs help tremendously with this. Get a pair with long handles. Cook each piece until it's golden brown all the way around. If you find that the batter is darkening too quickly or that the oil is smoking too much, turn it down. If you find that the items aren't cooking quickly enough, you can turn it up, but that will almost never be the case. One quick note about mushrooms. As dry as they are on the outside, they're full of moisture, and that moisture comes out when they cook, so just be extra careful with those in the pan. Drain fried foods on several layers of paper towels, or, even better, on racks over paper towels. Now, I know that these aren't breaded like chicken nuggets, but it's a bit difficult to bread something with crumbs without dipping it into eggs, which would make it non-vegan. And anyway, beer batter. It's beer batter. Come on, beer batter.
Well, they weren't a 100% match for chicken nuggets, but they did hit the spot, and they were quite tasty. And you know, I do miss that guy a little bit less now. Not because of the food, but that beer-battered seitan did help me realize something. Each copy of myself is a little less perfect. You know, I think I am a narcissist, but it's one of my best traits, second only to my awe-inspiring humility. Tune in next time for information on something else.